At that point, I looked over to the front desk and I screamed, somebody call 911. We put him on his side and he completely stopped breathing. And so I remember at some point kneeling down while he was laying there and just telling him, get up, come on, breathe. So it was really tough.
I don't know the amount of time, but were you dead?
I would say technically dead for 5 to 7 minutes.
So 5 to 7 minutes dead.
Motivate, inspire, educate. Welcome to Ultra Everything.
Hey everybody, Thomas Mestis here. Welcome to another episode of Ultra Everything. And today I have a great honor and privilege to talk to two amazing people who I'm fortunate enough to spend some time with, actually within my own office here. And I wanted to kind of tell their story and hear their story about basically going from what this shirt says, 0 to 100. And so we're pretty excited to have Keith Wright and Sonia Wright as our guests today. Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you for
being
having
here.
us. Thank you. Thanks for being
Appreciate
here.
It.
We're excited to have you guys. It's pretty awesome. So for our viewers that don't know, and they will soon learn about how amazing the two of you guys are, but I wanted to invite you guys today because you guys just completed something that was absolutely amazing. And it's not necessarily just the feat of what you guys accomplished, but it's the journey that took you to that point where you actually accomplished it. So you guys recently did something really cool, and this was about a week and a half ago. No, it was,
2 weeks.
2 weeks ago now, right? What'd you guys do?
We did the Baton Memorial Death Race.
All right, and how far is that?
26.2 miles.
Okay, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's a marathon.
Yes.
Now, a lot of people might be listening and saying, well, it's a marathon. What's so extraordinary about this marathon? And one of the coolest things that's extraordinary about this marathon is that for both of you, this marathon actually was, for you mainly, was going to happen a year prior.
Right.
And like in life, it's never, you never know what's going to happen the next day. And just about a week before the race, is that right?
Yes.
About a week before the race, something pretty life-changing happened. What happened?
Right. So a week before the race, Keith had been out of town for work. He had gone to Colorado. So he drove in. I picked him up at the airport so he can return the car. I was supposed to go train with the people I was training with, and somebody called from work, needed something, so that didn't happen. I called him, said, hey, I'm not going to make it, go ahead and go. And so Keith said, well, let's just go to the gym. He said, let's go to the gym. You can, do a little bit of training there. And I said, okay. So we went to the gym. About an hour into the workout, he wasn't doing any fast-paced running or anything like that. He was doing, a fast walk. He said, I actually told him, hey, do you want to stop? Let's go eat or whatever. I know he had been, gone all day. He said, no, you keep doing what you're doing. I'm going to go lift some weights. And I said, okay. I saw him hit the buttons twice to slow the machine down so he can get to a stopping. Yeah, we were on a treadmill, so that he can get to a stopping point. And I just saw him from the corner of my eye. I kind of saw him start doing this, and
So he's falling forward.
Falling forward.
Okay.
Very slowly falling forward, and I thought, and he just kept going. And at that point, I turned and saw him coming down, and I reached over, and I was able to get my hands underneath his arms. And because our treadmills were side by side, the bar there, I was able to hold him, with the help of the bars. And he came down, his knees buckled, he was passing out, and I remember holding him and thinking, okay, we have to get off this treadmill because they were both still going.
Yeah.
So I just kind of slid him, put him down as easy as I could. He came off the treadmill, And I jumped off the treadmill, turned him over, and just as I did that, his eyes were up in his head.
Oh, wow.
And he was breathing, like really shallow breathing. At that point, I looked over to the front desk and I screamed, somebody call 911. And so one of the guys that was there came over. I later found out that this individual had just gone through first aid training at his work the week before.
Wow.
He came over, started asking me all these questions. Is he diabetic? Is he, I'm answering these questions. And then he said, okay, let's put him on his side. We put him on his side and he completely stopped breathing. So we turned him back over and the guy started doing chest compressions. And just then another lady came over and she's actually an RN at Presbyterian. So she was working out. She came over and she yelled out for them to bring the AED machine over.
What's an AED machine?
So the AED machine is really a cool device. It once you put it on, once you put all of the equipment on, it monitors to see if you have a heart rate. If it does, it won't do anything. But if it does not detect a heart rate, then it will actually give a shock to the body to get the heart going again.
Gotta jumpstart everything.
Yep, have to jumpstart. So they hooked him up to it. It didn't detect a heart rate at that point, so it shocked him, and then he started to breathe again. He had, again, shallow breathing. They monitored him for a little bit, and then, again, he stopped breathing completely. They, again, did another shock. And just like in the movies, on the TV, you see where it jolts.
Jolts you and jumps up.
It did. Jolted his body. And they did that twice. The guy kept doing the compressions, chest compressions. I remember at some point kneeling down while he was laying there and just telling him, get up, come on, breathe.
Wow.
It was really tough.
Well, thank you for sharing that. Obviously, bringing back that,
Yeah.
is really tough. But
the
great thing is it's a good story because he's sitting right here. So all this stuff is actually happening. It's good to talk about what happened because he's here today.
Yeah.
But that could have ended where you weren't.
Could have ended real badly. For me, it was just, hey, I was on the treadmill. I was moderately doing a little bit of exercise, and I was slowing down, like she said, and then I started to feel faint. There was no typical signs of a heart attack or anything like that, where you feel the arm pain or the chest pain or anything like that. Literally, I hit those buttons twice, and I felt a little bit of tightness in my neck, and then I just started getting dizzy and started to faint, and I basically took a nap.
Wow. Yeah, could have been a long one, but good thing it was a short nap. So
Exactly.
So you were, I know that I don't know the amount of time, but were you dead?
I was, I would say technically dead for 5 to 7 minutes.
So 5 to 7 minutes dead. Whoa, right?
Right.
That's insane. So
Yeah, there was a point there that I thought 5 to 7 minutes you think is not a long time, but when there's somebody there and they're doing chest compressions and they're, he was not moving at all, no movement, barely breathing. I know there came a time where I looked at him and I said, he's not coming back.
wow.
He's not getting up from here.
I had a cardiologist tell me that this happens outside of a medical environment, and usually you have a 7% chance of living.
So you're pretty lucky.
That was pretty lucky.
Yeah.
EMT guy told me, hey, can we go over to the casino on the way up? Because you seem to have a little bit of luck at this period.
Yes.
Always a comedian in the crowd, right? Always someone. I was going to say the same thing, but you
God
beat me to
definitely
it.
had all of the right people in place.
So if you're going to die, like this is the perfect situation to die.
Yes.
Right. Well, yeah, and like they told me, is basically, hey, the places that's going to happen if you're gonna die, be at the gym or be at the casino, because both those places have AEDs available.
Wow.
The doctor did say, had we done anything different, he probably would have not survived.
Yeah, I mean, it was a perfect storm. You had an RN.
Mm-hmm.
You had somebody that just took a class a week before that knew what they were doing.
Yes.
They had an AED, and your wife was right next to you and realized right away and was able to scream to get help immediately.
Right.
So that was like the perfect storm.
Yeah.
So when I just said that you guys just finished a marathon, the Baton Death Race, that's what's crazy. Like, that's the whole, like, this, I'm wearing this shirt that says 0 to 100. He was basically 0.
Yeah.
And he went from 0 to 100 in 365 days. You went and you guys set this goal. And this was a long journey, obviously. A year is a long time, but it's not a lot of time. So you guys actually accomplished a lot, and it was pretty amazing. So one of the coolest things that I saw when you guys finished is taking this bell. And so early on, he's obviously, to our listeners and our viewers, he was in the hospital. He was going to get to go home. And since he couldn't do much, he needed obviously to have someone helping him. And well, of course, Sonia would be at home helping him. But, he wasn't necessarily of strength to be able to call out for her all the time. So I figured the best way to get a hold of Sonia would be to have a little bell. So we had a bell delivered to their house. So every time he needed something, he could just ring the bell and she would come running with a pillow to like cover his mouth.
So the unfortunate thing about that is I didn't get to have my bypass surgery. So they canceled that mid-surgery, and then they put stents in my arteries to open. So it was basically almost like an outpatient procedure.
Sure.
So I got to go home, and she's like, "Oh, you're fine. Leave that bell off to the side.
You
I
don't
need
need
to
the
hear
bell.
that."
She's like, I'm going to get you, Thomas. What the hell did you say this for? But, all jokes aside, I think through the time that you were in the hospital going and visiting is just your sense of joy. And I don't know if it came, and I know you because you always have a great sense of humor, but I think there was this, although you had known that this was very serious that you went through, you're like, holy crap, like I think the realization that how fortunate you were to be alive. Because your attitude through the whole process has been really good. I'm sure you had your down moments like anybody else has their downs, like the woe is me mentality. But if you were there, I don't think you were left to be there very long, knowing Sonia probably wouldn't have let that happen. Like, so if you were down, she got you back up. So you guys make an amazing team in that regard for sure.
Yeah. I don't think I would have made it through this whole process without her.
Yeah.
I've told her numerous times how much she supported me and got me through it. It wears on your mental capacity and your not only your physical, your spiritual, everything. It pulls you down a little bit because, I mean, for one, you think you know what your body's doing, but now they throw this in there and you have no idea what your body's feeling. And then you find all kinds of things are coming up that you didn't know you felt before. But you add in even medicines and different things, and all of a sudden you're in a new journey to try to figure out how to clear your health, which kind of brings you into yourself, really. And has she not like taken me out of myself and been there to support me in everything I do, it would have been a lot harder. Literally from taking me off that treadmill to nursing me back to health, mentally, physically, everything.
Yeah, there's a huge mental capacity or mental component of that, and it's so funny because if you're in a healthy position and you're not, obviously you look at yourself, you don't have any signs that would be like, oh, I had a heart attack or any of these things, but that's the problem is you're going back to it and you don't have the strength, you don't have the capacity, you don't have the the endurance, and that's the frustrating part of it, right? The road, and you got to remember that you got to take day by day, and it's not these exponential huge gains that you're going to see. It's going to be these really small, minute gains that you're making, and that you have to like celebrate the fact that you were able to go that step or that to the end of the yard, to the mailbox, to one of those. So tell me about like your first victory out of the hospital. What was your first like physical victory that you can remember? coming out of the hospital, being home?
I think walking was the big thing, because when they were going to do the bypass surgery, they were taking a vein out of my leg, and they basically took the vein out, said, no, this isn't viable, and threw it in the trash.
You're like, hey, that was mine.
And yeah, so
Like,
the
wait,
legs
I need
wrapped
that.
up, and the walking was a little bit tough.
So there goes your leg modeling career.
There goes my leg modeling career.
Oh, man.
Exactly. But yeah, I think that was tough. Being able to do things the way I used to do. You think that you have, hey, I feel the same as I did before I had the heart attack, but it's amazing how much that affects your energy and your body's ability to get going again. So it really it was kind of tough with that. But yeah, I think it's just about moving forward as much as you can. I mean, to her dismay, I went back to work a little over a week later. So
I remember her being nervous, scared, and a little angry.
a little angry,
a little bit of all.
A little
right?
angry.
I remember that.
And rightfully so. But I just couldn't sit around in the house anymore. And
Sure.
It's just that it's hard to slow yourself down when you're moving all the time.
Sure. So, there's going to be people listening today that are finding it hard to get the energy or the motivation to get to the gym or go for a walk. Like, this is one of the things I think is a common issue for most people, is where do I find that motivation to go to do these things? And especially after such a big, health scare, death, after something like that, how do you get the motivation to not just be like, woe is me mentality, I'm gonna sit on the couch and this is my life, and feel sorry for me, bring me my dinner and feel sorry for me? Like, how do you get out of that world, and how did you get out of that fast? And I know some of the answer obviously is Sonia is very much like, stop being a whiner, get your little whiny butt up and let's get moving. So I'm sure that had a little bit to do with it, or a lot.
I think, like everything, we have to work hard at it every day. There are days that I don't want anything to do with going out for a walk or doing whatever. But then, yeah, you have that partner that's going to say, hey, come on, let's go. And then that works both ways, even for me to her. So, I mean, a lot of that was the partnership and the relationship we had that kept us going. But yeah, you have to work at it. And I look at it the same way as going to work. Hey, we've got to do it to pay the bills. Yeah, but I mean, I want to get out there, and I don't really like being at home all the time. So
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really just trying to set your mind forward and keep going. And you can very easily get brought down mentally.
Sure.
So that's having the support that you have, not only from my wife, but I mean from you supported me with all the stuff. All the encouragements that I got from you was great. Friends at work, friends around the family. The family helped support me to keep me going and keep my spirits up.
Sure.
So I think that's all a great driver. For those that don't have that, it's hard. It's hard, and there's a lot of different ways that we can go about things, and we just have to try to set our mind to it.
I love that. One of the things that I love about Sonia's just that mental toughness is just to get going. She's very disciplined, and I think that holds on. And as far as being an accountability partner, so it's good that you guys are married, but if you don't have that and you guys are listening, you're like, well, I'm not married, I don't have somebody to push me. Friends, accountability partners, people like that, like those are so important to say, hey, setting goals, writing down goals. I don't know if you guys did this whole year. Did you guys write down goals of what you wanted to accomplish as far as your physicality and what you wanted to win? I know that you had the date on the calendar of this race. Is that what you had working towards it, or did you have moments that you were, or what am I thinking of? Just like strategic dates that you needed to do so much by when? Did you have it kind of mapped out?
I think we had, we had the big goal once we talked about it. But you also have to take some steps towards that. Is how are you going to achieve the goal? And even though we eat pretty good, or we did before, we now we eat a lot better now. The foods that we choose to eat, and like you said, accountability is huge. So we hold each other accountable. And we just plan out, plan out the activities, plan out some of those things. So planning is a big thing, I think. But I think what he said is for me, it was, selfish reasons, of course, we made this, when we got married, we made this commitment to each other. And I said, hey, I'm not ready to give up yet. Like, you can't give up, you have to. There's a difference between living and enjoying your life.
Sure.
So that is our all-time goal is we want to be able to enjoy, to be able to go hiking when we're, in our 70s, in our 80s. We want to be strong and we want to be healthy. So
Sure. It's important now. That's why you have to make the decision now.
Right.
Well, that being said, also we do things that progress our well-being, so to speak. We go to church and make sure that we feel fit spiritually. We try to do more of our exercise habits have gotten better. Our eating habits have definitely gotten better for those points. And then for our mental states and stuff, we make sure that we do things. So we get out to enjoy whatever's out there, whether it's going on a trip or just, while we're walking, enjoying what we're seeing and what we're doing versus just, I've got to get out there and exercise. Hey, yeah, but, try to embody it a little bit and enjoy the experience because, hey,
definitely more intentional.
I'm glad I wake up with pain after a walk or after exercise now because I wake up.
Yeah, that's amazing. No, that's very true. You got to enjoy the journey, right? Like the journey, and in a short amount of time, you went from the worst case to this amazing thing. So tell me how you felt when you finished. Obviously, because you finished this race.
Let's talk a little bit about how I felt when we were
In
practicing.
the race. Oh, practicing.
When we're practicing.
Well, I heard about a lot of these things because you're like, we did 22 miles. Because the crazy thing is, Sonia would say, we're doing 22 miles. And so, but she wouldn't really tell you, she basically say we're going out 11 miles. And then you're smart enough to do a basic addition. You're
I gotta go home.
Wait a minute. Like, we go out 11, we got to come back 11 if I want to get home.
Yeah.
And you're like, that's 22 miles, Sonia.
Yeah. So as we started doing that, I mean, we were literally, we would, I think we started with 6 or 8 miles. I mean, we were doing 6 and 8 miles easy for a long time. And they're like, okay, we've got to, I think it was in late November or in December sometime, we said, okay, we've got to start, or maybe it was January, but we have to start incrementally moving up 2 miles every week to get ready for the march that's in March.
Yeah.
So we do 2 miles, so we did 8 miles. Had a granddaughter with us. She didn't like that one very much, but we did 8 miles. It was pretty.
Who whined more,
easy.
you or the granddaughter? Who whined more, you or the granddaughter?
Oh, the granddaughter for sure.
Okay.
But we're good. 8 miles. We'd already been doing this, so it's no problem. 10 miles the next week, 12 miles, and then at the end of 12 miles, you're like, yeah, my feet hurt a little bit. No big deal. 14 miles, my feet kind of hurt. 16 miles. Oh man, this was. Why are we doing this again? You start second guessing yourself.
Everything.
What's going on? 16 miles, probably the most I've ever done in one day.
But who you surround yourself is extremely important because we would do these miles, and anytime either one of us would complain or groan because it hurt or we were achy, we would just laugh at each other. So we would just.
The 18 miles was a little tough, though, because both of us, my knee was hurting, her foot was hurting, so we were just like hobbling in. We're getting close to that 1 mile out part, and she's like, "Let me call my son. I'm not going to make it." I was like, "Well, you go with him, and I'll continue that last mile." And she's like, "Nope, can't leave you here." So we
guess I
called
have
him
to do
off,
it.
and
Yeah.
we had to do it.
Yeah.
And accountability partner. And so that was good. And then we were supposed to do a 20, and we didn't make the 20 mile. So the very next week after we were supposed to do the 20, we did 22. So we skipped the 20 altogether.
Yeah, there you go.
And that 22 was rough. Yeah, 11 miles out and then 11 miles back.
And you
I think
start
we
to
did pretty good.
strategize, like, okay, what can I do better from last week so that I'm not hurting, So there was a lot of that, trying to figure out what to eat before you go on, long distances, and that you have to feed your body, which was one of the things that we learned because we, run out
You
of.
should be feeding your body, not
Yeah.
at the end, but
Yeah, during the process?
during the process.
Oh, yeah.
So we
Yeah,
learned a whole lot in the experience. So that was the whole point. It's like, okay, so by the time we got to our actual race march down at White Sands Missile Range, it was like, okay, I think we're pretty ready. I think we're good. Yeah, no.
But the interesting part of that is you're elevating yourself to you're passing past your perceived limitations each time, right? And it's building this confidence. It's building this ability for you to be able to win, and it's giving you this winning mindset that if you've done it once, you're like, I can do it again. It may not be comfortable. It may not be everything that I want it to be, but I know I can accomplish it.
Exactly.
And I think that's what most people do is they elevate up, right, over time. And you guys did it very rapidly because, from 0 to 100, that's, going with that philosophy is you ramped up fairly quickly. And most people that have had heart attacks or similar symptoms to you, or just going through the process where you didn't necessarily feel that you could do the training that you did, but you guys started doing it together, where you started incrementally doing it. Was there ever a time during the training where you're like, I'm pushing him too hard?
Yes.
And you're like, I don't want to kill him.
Yeah, we were actually doing.
It depends on the day, of course.
Yeah, we were going up the hill in Los Lunas, and it's a pretty steep hill. And there's a couple of places where it just really steep, lots of work to get up there. And after this happened, I was consistently asking, are you okay? How are you feeling? Anytime we, walked, just to make sure that we weren't going to overdo it. But one of those times, it was a Saturday, we had gone out early, and we got up the first hurdle and then started to go up, and he said, hey, I'm kind of not really, I'm feeling something, I'm not sure. And I said, okay, well, let's take a rest. And then we stopped for a little bit, and he said, okay, let's keep going. And we went up a little bit further, and he said, no, this just really isn't good. And I said, okay, we don't have to keep going. Let's just rest a little bit, and then we're going to go back down. So we did that.
And knowing your limitations is definitely humbling, because we had just done this same course the week before, and I was like, boom, let's go. Mm-hmm. And then we're not even maybe 2 miles in, and I'm not feeling good. And
there's days, man. There's days, and it doesn't matter who you are. There's just days that you just don't feel right, and that's your body telling you it's probably time to rest a little bit.
Right, and that's listening to your body and making sure you have that knock it off kind of mentality. It's like, okay.
So tell me, so leading up to it, obviously the training happened, you guys did it, you felt that you were going to be okay, you were going to make it. Mm-hmm. Okay, now you go through the whole race. Were there any like super lows during the time that you were out that you're like, I don't know if we're going to make this?
No,
I was like, let's go, let's cruise. We were straight on out the door.
Awesome.
Mm-hmm. It was an awesome experience. At the beginning, we did really good, a decent pace for us. We were doing just under 15-minute miles for the first 6 miles, and it was a little run and walk and keep going. It was mostly, dirt, rock, a little bit of sand on the first bout of 6 miles.
That sand's a little relentless, isn't it?
Well, it wasn't too bad of sand, but it's when you get enough people walking through it, it makes it dig it a little bit deeper. But then we hit the road part, which it's cement, so this is easy, or it's concrete or blacktop. It's easy. Then they stuck you going up a hill at an incline for 6 miles. Literally 6 miles of just incline. There's no level out. There's no any of that.
It's a bit relentless.
So that kind of beats you up a little bit as you're going up that hill. And then we got a chance to go around a small mountain, and that was all going down in ravines and coming up and around the mountain and stuff. Really cool, beautiful, beautiful view. And then we come back down winds around, and we come back down that same road, and hey, this is good. By then, your feet are hurt, man. You're at 18 miles, and your feet are like, hey, man, this is a little different. We got down to the bottom of the hill. We had to get her foot doctored up a little bit. Got a little bit of blistering because it's a little rough on your feet.
Oh yeah.
And then once we got out of there, hey, great. You see the installation. You see where we're going to end. All this kind of stuff. And then they turn you right, and then turn you back away from.
Right there. It's right there.
We literally are saying that. And then they stick you in really pretty soft sand for about a mile and a half. Mile and a half of soft sand at your 20-mile mark. It's a little painful.
It is. It's
Yeah.
challenging
for sure.
Yeah.
And then we got finally we get to wind around and head back toward the installation, and you see the fence, and you get up to that fence, and you're like, yeah, we're there. And then they turn you to the right and say, okay, walk along this fence for another mile and a half.
Yeah.
And you're like, does this ever end?
Sure.
We had a goal. We set that goal at 8 hours to complete the 26.2 miles. And it literally, we got there at 7 hours and 59 minutes.
Nice. You did it. Woo! Right
Exactly.
We did it.
on. Yeah. That's awesome, guys. How did it feel crossing the finish line?
Very emotional.
Yeah.
It was a goal.
It was a goal, and you accomplished it. That's awesome. What did you feel when she got the bell out?
I could do nothing but laugh because I had no idea that the bell was on the trip with us. But
Yeah.
I could do nothing but laugh.
I had to wrap it in like a sock or something and put
Just
it.
so it would make any
yeah,
noise?
at the very bottom, so it wouldn't make any noise while we're running.
What did that signify for you? Did it have a significance?
I think it's kind of like the closing bell on things. It's like, all right, you know what? I can chime this one in. I completed another milestone. Let's keep going.
Yeah, that's awesome. So what's next?
For her, she's got a half marathon coming up. For me, I'm still working on what's next. I've got to continue to work. I think I got to work more on my building of muscle and everything again. I lost 20 pounds since last year. Not all of that was just during the walk. A lot of that was in the hospital. A lot of
Sure.
that's muscle weight.
Sure.
So I've got to continue to try to
Build back. Sure. That's awesome, man. That's good. That's good. You always have to set those goals, and it's so funny. It's like, I think that is so important, is to set milestones, goals, so you can see how far you've come. Because sometimes we beat ourselves up. We're our worst critic. We beat ourselves up for what we haven't accomplished or what we haven't done. And a lot of times we need to take that inventory about all these little accomplishments that we've done, little, big, whatever, it doesn't matter. Excuse me. And I think that's so important, and I'm so proud of you guys. Like, hearing about this story, I wanted to just to have you guys on and listen to your story, because I think your story can resonate with so many people. It's like, guys, you can start today. You can start a new life. Like, your life can change, literally change in the next 12 months. If you can't do something today, but you have life, you have the ability to change. And that's the message that I want for people to hear today, is that you can go from nothing, from basically death, to accomplishing some massive goals. And the journey that you guys went through together is so important, because that friendship and that relationship is so important, crucial for you guys being here today. So
I think we have to make time for ourselves. It's hard to get away from that life, as you say.
yeah,
There was a lot of times, hey, we don't have time to go do our training walk today or whatever. You have to literally make time for that, and you should be important to yourself, and that's the primary thing.
that's important. Yeah, you should be important to yourself.
Yeah.
Like, you need to prioritize these things.
Yeah, and we
'cause if you
did a
don't,
lot of our
no one else is gonna
training.
do it.
Yeah, we did our training in the evenings, late at night, dark. We had little lamps on
Had the
the.
headlamps, and
Yeah.
we had the coyotes out there with
Yeah.
us. So I mean, it was it was an interesting experience. But
It was cold, and if
Cold and dark.
yeah,
And all the things, like, you're like, that does not sound.
No.
But what makes it all worthwhile is that moment. the moment that you accomplished the goal.
Oh, yeah.
Because you said you wanted to do it and you did it. And, you know, you don't remember how miserable you were through those cold nights and things, but it's the feeling of crossing that finish line and doing that and just like, holy crap, I accomplished it.
After being so exhausted and hurting and in pain, and you cross that and you're like, for me, it was like, okay, what's next? Now what?
Yeah.
What are we going to do?
That's awesome. That is so cool.
You know,
Well-
you start to think that there really isn't anything that you can't accomplish. Like, you set your mind to it, and if you have to, you know, of course, put the right people
Yeah.
in place, you have to.
You gotta put the work in.
Exactly.
And I think that's the key. That's the message, is you have to put the work in. And it doesn't matter where you are today, you have the ability. And if you can't get up and walk, like, do something in your chair. There's exercise that you can do. You can lift your legs. You can get to that point where you build up to the point where you can maybe walk a few steps. If you can't walk a few steps, I don't know what your situation is. You know what your situation is, but there's obviously an opportunity for you to do something. So do something. Don't just wither away and die. I mean, because you had that crossroads. You're like, I could either do this or I could do this. I could choose to live or I could choose to die. And we all have that.
And I'd like to add one thing to that is just coming from all of our perspective is be motivational to other people. You know, you don't know what they're going through, so if you can help them, it doesn't take anything out of you to try to help. It doesn't take anything out of you to tell your story. It doesn't take anything. You may help somebody in the process.
Absolutely. That's awesome. We are going to wrap it up there. I truly appreciate you guys taking the time to share your story with me. I get inspired by these things, and I hope that it inspires our audience, and that you could just touch one person. I mean, it's all worthwhile, and it's amazing. So,
Absolutely.
how do people get in touch with you on social, connect, see what you guys are doing? I don't know if you guys do that or not, but please let our audience know how to get in touch with you.
Oh, we are on Facebook. We do post on social media when we're out walking, and you know, we encourage anybody that you know, if they are wanting to just barely get started or just wanting to, you know, a little bit at a time, we're definitely available to, you know, to go on those walks or runs or whenever we can fit them in. So
Cool. And those are great things to do, is do some meetups and all that stuff. And you guys are fun people too, so I'm sure it's a very interesting thing. Because one of the things during your walk, I remember hearing that I think you had to do push-ups as well.
Oh, that's her doing right there. Every time we passed a bench, we had to do push-ups and 10, 15, adding numbers after every bench. We had one time where there was 4, 5, 6 benches in a row, and I'm like, hey, what are we doing here? But yeah, we made it through. We didn't say no. We just like, oh man.
You shake your head, right?
yeah, and
That's
we did
awesome.
75 push-ups on that one.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
That is so awesome.
So every once in a while he says, okay, well,
So not only my
there
legs,
any
but my
benches?
arms were killing me at that time.
That's very inspiring, guys. You guys are awesome.
you
I
have to keep
appreciate
it
you.
interesting.
You got to keep it interesting. It's a journey, right? It's
Yes.
a journey for
It
sure.
is a journey.
You guys, I appreciate you guys being here. Thank you very much
Thank
for
you.
sharing your story.
Thank you.
And guys, thank you for taking the time today to listen to Keith Wright and Sonia Wright and their amazing journey over the last 12 months. In life, don't just sit on the sidelines, guys. You got to take it up. You got to go out and try. You got to go do things, and you got to ultra up. So we'll see you in the next one. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time. All right, guys, I am talking to you specifically. If you are someone that is doing things to the ultra level, I want to talk to you. If you know of somebody that's doing things to the ultra level, I want to talk to them. So comment below, tag them on here, give us a call, hit us up on social media, DM us, whatever you got to do to get your information to us, because we want to talk to you, because we are interested in definitely learning more about what you're doing in your community and the people that you inspire around you. So definitely ultra up and give us a call.